Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome back to the live studios here in yours truly, the room I live in Govardhan, ISKCON Bhaktivinoda Ashram, right across the street from Giriraj Govardhan. Yes, the real thing, the hill that Krishna lifted. And we're continuing with our daily readings of Srila Prabhupada's books. And welcome aboard. Thank you for being there. Thank you for continuing to come and visit and to hear. This is the essence of Krishna consciousness, is to hear. And the more we can hear with rapt attention, without speculation, without argument, with faith and love, then the more we get Krishna consciousness. And there's no other way to get Krishna consciousness. The service we do, how to do the service, the mentality to have, it's all springing forth from this principle of hearing, or the practice of hearing. The Bhagavad Gita and the Srimad-Bhagavatam and the Chaitanya Charitamrita especially, and the other books that Srila Prabhupada so kindly gave his life to give us. Okay, so before we start, we're going to read Sanatana Goswami's glorification of the Bhagavatam. It's called Srimad-Bhagavata Mihima Stotram. It comes from Sri Krishna Lila Stava, Srila Sanatana Goswami's labor of love to offer 108 obeisances to the Vrindavan Lila of Krishna. And this is the 107th obeisance, and it takes up verses 412 to 416, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 5 verses. And in these 5 verses, you get a very deep picture of what the Bhagavatam is. And it goes like this. Sarva Shastrabdi Piyusha, Sarva Vedaika Satpala, Sarva Siddhanta Ratnadya, Sarva Lokaika Drikprada. O nectar from the ocean of all scriptures, singular fruit of all the Vedas, rich mine of the precious gems of all conclusive truths, you are the only giver of sight to all the worlds. Sarva Bhagavata Prana, Srimad Bhagavata Prabho, Kalidwandoditaditya, Sri Krishna Parivartita. O life air of all the Supreme Lord's devotees, O Master, Srimad Bhagavatam, you are the sun risen in the darkness of Kali. You are the exact image of Sri Krishna. Paramamanda Pataya, Prema Varshakshadayate, Sarvada Sarvasevyaya, Sri Krishnaya Namostume. I bow down to you, who were supremely blissful to read. Your every syllable pours down a flood of prema. You can always be served by everyone. You are Sri Krishna himself. Madeka Bando Matsangin, Madguro Mad Mahadana, Mad Nishtadaka Mad Bhagya, Mad Ananda Namostute. My only friend, my constant companion, my spiritual master, my great wealth, my savior, my good fortune, my source of ecstasy, I bow down to you. Asadu sadutadayin, adini chochatakara, hanamunchagadachin mam, premna retkanta yospura. O bestower of saintliness to the unsaintly, O exalter of the most fallen, please never leave me. Always appear in my heart and my voice with pure love. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 So here we are, the 3rd canto, 10th chapter, beginning with text 10. Maitreya is answering Vidura's questions. And those questions are very deep, comprehensive questions. And he's answering them one after another. And he just finished explaining Lord Brahma's austerities before he created the universe, having been given all the ingredients. But he didn't know how to do it. So he did austerity. When Krishna was pleased with his austerity, he revealed himself to Brahma. And then Brahma prayed to Krishna for creative potency. And particularly, he prayed not to become proud, just because he has this most exalted service, actually, in the whole universe. And after that, after those prayers, Krishna then explained to Brahma and gave him benediction that he could do it without becoming proud, and blessed him that he would always be able to remember him. So now, Vidura is inquiring further from Maitreya, and the chapter we're in now is called Divisions of the Creation. So now we're going to begin the explanation of the creation in the Srimad-Bhagavatam. After millions and millions of births of scientific discovery, no one can understand the depth of what happened in the beginning of the creation like we can from just hearing the Srimad-Bhagavatam. Text 10. Vidura inquired from Maitreya, O my Lord, O greatly learned sage, kindly describe eternal time, which is another form of the Supreme Lord, the wonderful actor. What are the symptoms of that eternal time? Please describe them to us in detail. Purport. The complete universe is a manifestation of varieties of entities, beginning from the atoms up to the gigantic universe itself. And all is under the control of the Supreme Lord in his form of Kala, or eternal time. The controlling time has different dimensions in relation to particular physical embodiments. There is a time for atomic dissolution and a time for the universal dissolution. There is a time for the annihilation of the body of the human being, and there is a time for the annihilation of the universal body. Also, growth, development, and resultant actions all depend on the time factor. Vidura wanted to know in detail the different physical manifestations and their times of annihilation. Text 11. Maitreya said, eternal time is the primeval source of the interactions of the three modes of material nature. It is unchangeable and limitless, and it works as the instrument of the Supreme Personality of Godhead for his pastimes in the material creation. Purport. The impersonal time factor is the background of the material manifestation as the instrument of the Supreme Lord. It is the ingredient of assistance offered to the material nature. No one knows where time began and where it ends. It is time, and it is time only, which can keep a record of the creation, maintenance, and destruction of the material manifestation. This time factor is the material cause of creation and is therefore a self-expansion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Time is considered the impersonal feature of the Lord. The time factor is also explained by modern men in various ways. Some accept it almost as it is explained in the Srimad-Bhagavatam. For example, in Hebrew literature, time is accepted in the same spirit as the representation of God. It is stated therein, God, who at sundry times and in diverse manners spake in time past unto the fathers by the prophets. Metaphysically, time is distinguished as absolute and real. Absolute time is continuous and is unaffected by the speed or slowness of material things. Time is astronomically and mathematically calculated in relation to the speed, change, and life of a particular object. Factually, however, time has nothing to do with the relativities of things. Rather, everything is shaped and calculated in terms of the facility offered by time. Time is the basic measurement of the activity of our senses, by which we calculate past, present, and future. But in factual calculation, time has no beginning and no end. Chanakya Pandit says that even a slight fraction of time cannot be purchased with millions of dollars, and therefore even a moment of time lost without profit must be calculated as the greatest loss in life. Time is not subject to any form of psychology, nor are the moments objective realities in themselves, but they are dependent on particular experiences. Therefore, Srila Jiva Goswami concludes that the time factor is intermixed with the activities, actions, and reactions of the external energy of the Lord. The external energy, or material nature, works under the superintendence of time, of the time factor, as the Lord himself. And that is why material nature appears to have produced so many wonderful things in the cosmic manifestation. Bhagavad Gita confirms this conclusion as follows. Maya jakshana prakriti suyate sacharacharam hetunani nikonteya jagat viparivartate. Text 12. This cosmic manifestation is separated from the Supreme Lord as material energy by means of Kala, which is the unmanifested impersonal feature of the Lord. It is situated as the objective manifestation of the Lord under the influence of the same material energy of Vishnu. Purport. As stated previously by Narada before Vyasadeva, Bhagavatam 1.5.20, Idam hi Vishwam Bhagavan Ivetara. This manifested, you have to go? Okay, Hare Krishna. Thanks for stopping in. See you another time. As stated previously by Narada before Vyasa. That's strange. Okay, it's okay. I'm going to read the translation again. We got interrupted. It's very important that we absorb our minds. When we get interrupted, then we have to reset. I mean, generally speaking, if you're reading out loud to, or giving a lecture, or even when you're talking to somebody, if something happens to divert everybody's attention, because that's the nature of time. As soon as something happens, everybody goes, their attention goes there, and then you lose it. That's what we mean by losing it. Something like that. So then you got to stop, wait until that thing is over, and then refocus when everybody's attention is again fixed. So again, we're on text 12. This cosmic manifestation is separated from the Supreme Lord as material energy by means of Kala, which is the unmanifested, impersonal feature of the Lord. It is situated as the objective manifestation of the Lord under the influence of the same material energy of Vishnu. Purport. As stated previously by Narada before Vyasadeva in Bhagavatam 1.5.20, Idam ibishvam bhagavan ibe taraha. This manifested world is the self-same personality of Godhead, but appears to be something different, but it appears to be something else, beyond or besides the Lord. It appears so because of its being separated from the Lord by means of Kala. It is something like the tape-recorded voice of a person who is now separated from the voice. As the tape recording is situated on the tape, so the whole cosmic manifestation is situated on the material energy and appears separate by means of Kala. The material manifestation is therefore the objective manifestation of the Supreme Lord and exhibits his impersonal feature so much adored by impersonalist philosophers. Text 13. This cosmic manifestation is as it is now. It was the same in the past, and it will continue in the same way in the future. Purport. There's a systematic schedule for the perpetual manifestation, maintenance, and annihilation of the material world, as stated in Bhagavad Gita 9.8. Bhuttagramam imam kritshnam avasham prakriter vishad. As it is created now, and as it will be destroyed later on, so also it existed in the past, and again will be created, maintained, and destroyed in due course of time. Therefore, the systematic activities of the time factor are perpetual and eternal, and cannot be stated to be false. The manifestation is temporary and occasional, but it is not false, as claimed by the Mayavadi philosophers. Text 14. There are 9 different kinds of creations, besides the one which naturally occurs due to the interactions of the modes. There are 3 kinds of annihilations due to eternal time, the material elements, and the quality of one's work. Purport. The scheduled creations and annihilations take place in terms of the Supreme Will. There are other creations due to interactions of material elements, which take place by the intelligence of Brahma. Later these will be more explicitly explained. At present, only preliminary information is given. The 3 kinds of annihilations are: 1. Due to the scheduled time of the annihilation of the entire universe. 2. Due to a fire which emanates from the mouth of Ananta. And 3. Due to one's qualitative actions and reactions. Text 15. So we'll learn about the 9 scheduled creations later. Oh, like right now. Text 15. Of the 9 creations, the first one is the creation of the Mahatattva, or the sum total of the material ingredients, wherein the modes interact due to the presence of the Supreme Lord. In the second, the false ego is generated, in which the material ingredients, material knowledge, and material activities arise. Purport. The first emanation from the Supreme Lord from material creation is called the Mahatattva. The interaction of the material modes is the cause of false identification, or the sense that the living being is made of material elements. This false ego is the cause of identifying the body and mind with the soul proper. Material resources and the capacity and knowledge to work are all generated in the second term of creation, after the Mahatattva. Jnana indicates the senses, which are sources of knowledge, and their controlling deities. Work entails the working organs and their controlling deities. All these are generated in the second creation. Text 16. The sense perceptions are created in the third creation, and from these the elements are created or generated. The fourth creation is the creation of knowledge and of working capacity. 17. The fifth creation is that of the controlling deities by the interaction of the mode of goodness, of which the mind is the sum total. The sixth creation is the ignorant darkness of a living entity in which the master acts as a fool. Purport. The demigods in the higher planets are called devas because they are all devotees of Lord Vishnu. Vishnu Bhakta Smrito Daiva Asuras Tad Piparyayaha. All the devotees of Lord Vishnu are devas or demigods, whereas all others are asuras. That is the division of the devas and the asuras. Devas are situated in the mode of goodness of material nature, whereas the asuras are situated in the modes of passion or ignorance. The demigods or controlling deities are entrusted with departmental management of all the different functions of the material world. For example, one of our sense organs, the eye, is controlled by light. Light is distributed by the sun rays, and their controlling deity is the sun. Similarly, mind is controlled by the moon. All other senses, both for working and for acquiring knowledge, are controlled by the different demigods. The demigods are assistants of the Lord in the management of material affairs. After the creation of the demigods, all entities are covered by the darkness of ignorance. Each and every living being in the material world is conditioned by his mentality of lording it over the resources of material nature. Although a living entity is the master of the material world, he is conditioned by ignorance, by the false impression of being the proprietor of material things. The energy of the Lord is called avidya. The energy of the Lord, called avidya, is the bewildering factor of the conditioned souls. The material nature is called avidya, or ignorance, but to the devotees of the Lord, engaged in pure devotional service, this energy becomes vidya, or pure knowledge. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. The energy of the Lord transforms from Mahamaya to Yogamaya and appears to pure devotees in her real feature. The material nature, therefore, appears to function in three phases: as the creative principle of the material world, as ignorance, and as knowledge. I'll read that again. This is so deep. The material nature, therefore, appears to function in three phases: as the creative principle of the material world, as ignorance, and as knowledge. As disclosed in the previous verse, in the fourth creation, the power of knowledge is also created. The conditioned souls are not originally fools, but the influence of the avidya function of material nature. The conditioned souls are not originally fools, but by the influence of the avidya function of material nature, they are made fools, and thus they are unable to utilize knowledge in the proper channel. By the influence of darkness, the conditioned soul forgets his relationship with the Supreme Lord and is overwhelmed by attachment, hatred, pride, ignorance, and false identification. The 5 kinds of illusion that cause material bondage. I'll read that paragraph again. This is very deep, but very, very meaningful. By the influence of darkness, the conditioned soul forgets his relationship with the Supreme Lord and is overwhelmed by attachment, hatred, pride, ignorance, and false identification. The 5 kinds of illusion that cause material bondage. Text 18. All the above are natural creations by the external energy of the Lord. Now hear from me about the creations by Brahma, who is an incarnation of the mode of passion, and who, in the matter of creation, has a brain like that of the personality of Godhead. Text 19. The 7th creation is that of the immovable entities, which are of 6 kinds: the fruit trees without flowers, trees and plants which exist until the fruit is ripe, creepers, pipe plants, creepers which have no support, and trees with flowers and fruits. Text 20. All the immovable trees and plants seek their subsistence upwards. They are almost unconscious, but have feelings of pain within. They are manifested in variegatedness. Text 21. The 8th creation is that of the lower species of life, and they are of different varieties, numbering 28. They are all extensively foolish and ignorant. They know their desirables by smell, but are unable to remember anything within the heart. Purport. In the Vedas, the symptoms of the lower animals are described as follows, quote, lower animals have knowledge only of their hunger and thirst. They have acquired knowledge, no vision. Their behavior exhibits no dependence on formalities. Extensively ignorant, they can know their desirables only by smell, and by such intelligence only can they understand what is favorable and unfavorable. Their knowledge is concerned only with eating and sleeping. Therefore, even the most ferocious lower animals, such as tigers, can be tamed simply by regularly supplying meals and accommodations for sleeping. Only snakes cannot be tamed by such an arrangement. So this is very interesting, because sometimes when we preach, really ignorant people will say, well, how do you know what the animals, they may be thinking the same things as us, we just don't know it. You can't, you're not. No, it's here. It's in the Bhagavatam. There's actually a source of real knowledge to tell us what the capacities of every living entity is. Therefore, it's very important in human society that we rekindle the faith in the Shastra. Text 22. O purest Vidura, of the lower animals, the cow, goat, buffalo, Krishna stag, hog, Gavaya animal, deer, lamb, and camel all have cloven hooves. Text 23. The horse, mule, ass, gora, Shadava bison, and wild cow have only one hoof. Now you may hear from me about the animals who have 5 nails. Text 24. The dog, jackal, tiger, fox, cat, rabbit, sajaru, lion, monkey, elephant, tortoise, alligator, gosapa, etc. all have 5 nails in their claws. They are known as panchanakas, or animals having 5 nails. 25. The heron, vulture, crane, hawk, basa, baluka, peacock, swan, sarasa, chakravaka, crow, owl, and others are the birds. Text 26. The creation of the human beings, who are of one species only, and who stock their eatables in the belly, is the 9th in the rotation. In the human race, the mode of passion is very prominent. Humans are always busy in the midst of miserable life, but they think themselves happy in all respects. Purport. The human being is more passionate than the animals, and thus the sex life of the human being is more irregular. The animals have their due time for sexual intercourse, but the human being has no regular time for such activities. The human being is endowed with a higher, advanced stage of consciousness for getting relief from the existence of material miseries. But due to his ignorance, he thinks that his higher consciousness is meant for advancing in the material comforts of life. Thus his intelligence is misused in the animal propensities, eating, sleeping, defending, and mating, instead of spiritual realization. By advancing in material comforts, the human being puts himself into a more miserable condition. But, illusioned by the material energy, he always thinks himself happy, even while in the midst of misery. Such misery of human life is distinct from the natural, comfortable life enjoyed, even by the animals.
That's a very striking sentence.
Yeah. Well, sometimes I've met people, many people, who would think it would be okay to be a cat or a dog. Mm-hmm. They come home after working hard at night, and they see the cats laying there just kind of, basking in the sunrise. Yeah, that's one thing. That's one thing. But now even in India, they have people who have house pets and things that they treat just like children, Text 27. O good Vidura, these last three creations and the creation of demigods, the 10th creation, are Vikrita creations, which are different from the previously described Prakrita, natural creations. The appearance of the Kumaras is both. 28-29. The creation of the demigods is of 8 varieties. 1. The demigods. 2. The forefathers. 3. The asuras or demons. 4. The Gandharvas and Apsaras or angels. 5. The Yakshas or Rakshasas. 6. The Siddhas, Charanas and Vidyadharas. 7. The Bhutas, Pretas and Pishachas. And 8. The superhuman beings, celestial singers, etc. All are created by Brahma, the creator of the universe. Purport. As explained in the 2nd canto of Srimad-Bhagavatam, the Siddhas are inhabitants of Siddhaloka, where the residents travel in space without vehicles. At their mere will, they can pass from one planet to another without difficulty. Therefore, in the upper planets, the inhabitants are far superior to the inhabitants of this planet in all matters of art, culture, and science, since they possess brains superior to those of human beings. The spirits and jinn mentioned in this connection are also counted among the demigods because they are able to perform uncommon functions not possible for men. Text 30. Now I shall describe the descendants of the Manus. The creator Brahma, as the incarnation of the passion mode of the personality of Godhead, creates the universal affairs with unfailing desires in every millennium by the force of the Lord's energy. Purport. The cosmic manifestation is the expansion of one of the many energies of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Creator and the created are both emanations of the same Supreme Truth, as stated in the beginning of the Srimad-Bhagavatam, Janmad Yasya Yataha, Bhagavatam 1.1.1. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 3rd canto, 10th chapter of the Srimad-Bhagavatam, entitled Divisions of the Creation. Haribo! Lord Brahma ki jai! Hare Krishna! Haribo! Haribo. Okay, here we go. Chapter 11, Calculation of Time from the Atom. Just in case anyone thinks that there isn't science in the Bhagavatam. Okay, here we go. Text 1. It doesn't have Maitreya said. A little unusual, but anyway, it's clear who's talking. The material manifestation's ultimate particle, which is indivisible and not formed into a body, is called the atom. It exists always as an invisible identity, even after the dissolution of all forms. The material body is but a combination of such atoms, but it is misunderstood by the common man, except for Einstein. Purport: the atomic description of the Srimad-Bhagavatam is almost the same as the modern science of atomism, and this is further described in the Paramanu Vada of Kannada. In modern science also, the atom is accepted as the ultimate indivisible particle of which the universe is composed. Srimad-Bhagavatam is the full text of all descriptions of knowledge, including the theory of atomism. The atom is the minute, subtle form of eternal time. We're getting the picture? Picture's starting to be a little more clear. You read this book about 100 times and you'll get it. Sure, maybe before, depending on how intelligent you are, maybe before. Text 2, Brahma got it, studying it 3 times.
That's why he's Brahma.
That's why he's Brahma. Okay, text 2. Atoms are the ultimate state of the manifest universe. When they stay in their own forms, without forming different bodies, they are called the unlimited oneness. There are certainly different bodies in physical forms, but the atoms themselves form the complete manifestation. Text 3. One can estimate time by measuring the movement of the atomic combination of bodies. Time is the potency of the Almighty Personality of Godhead, Hari, who controls all physical movement, although he is not visible in the physical world. Text 4. Atomic time is measured according to its covering a particular atomic space. That time which covers the unmanifest aggregate of atoms is called the great time. Purport: time and space are 2 correlative terms. Time is measured in terms of its covering a certain space of atoms. Standard time is calculated in terms of the movement of the sun. The time covered by the sun in passing over an atom is calculated as atomic time. The greatest time of all covers the entire existence of the non-dual manifestation. All the planets rotate and cover space, and space is calculated in terms of atoms. Each planet has its particular orbit for rotating, in which it moves without deviation, and similarly, the sun has its orbit. The complete calculation of the time of creation, maintenance, and dissolution, measured in terms of the calculation of the total planetary systems until the end of creation, is known as the supreme Kala. Text 5. The division of gross time is calculated as follows. 2 atoms make 1 double atom, and 3 double atoms makes 1 hexatom. This hexatom is visible in the sunshine which enters through the holes of a window screen. One can clearly see that the hexatom goes upwards toward the sky. I've seen it. Have you seen it? Everybody's seen it, if you look carefully enough. Purport. The atom is described as an invisible particle, but when 6 such atoms combine together, they are called a trisarenu. And this is visible in the sunshine pouring through the holes of a window screen. Text 6. The time duration needed for the integration of 3 trisarenus is called a truti, and 100 trutis make 1 Veda. 3 Vedas make 1 lava. Purport. It is calculated that if a second is divided into 1,687.5 parts, each part is the duration of a truti, which is the time occupied in the integration of 18 atomic particles. Such a combination of atoms into different bodies creates the calculation of material time. The sun is the central point for calculating all different durations. 7. The duration of time of 3 lavas is equal to 1 nimesha. The combination of 3 nimeshas makes 1 chana. 5 chanas combined together make 1 kashta, and 15 kashtas make 1 lagu. Purport. By calculation, it is found that 1 lagu is equal to 2 minutes. The atomic calculation of time in terms of Vedic wisdom may be converted into present time with this understanding. Text 8. 15 lagus make 1 nadika, which is also called a danda. 2 dandas make 1 muhurta, and 6 or 7 dandas make 1/4 of a day or night, according to human calculation. Text 9. The measuring pot for 1 nadika or danda can be prepared with a 6 pala weight, 14-ounce, pot of copper, in which a hole is bored with a gold probe weighing 4 masha and measuring 4 fingers long. When the pot is placed on water, the time before the water overflows in the pot is called 1 danda.
Sounds very exact.
It is. Purport. It is advised herein that the bore in the copper measuring pot must be made with a probe weighing not more than 4 masha and measuring not longer than 4 fingers. This regulates the diameter of the hole. The pot is submerged in water, and the overflooding time is called a danda. This is another way of measuring the duration of a danda, just as time is measured by sand in a glass. It appears that in the days of Vedic civilization, there was no dearth of knowledge in physics, chemistry, or higher mathematics. Measurements were calculated in different ways, as simply as could be done. Text 10. It is calculated that there are 4 praharas, which are also called yamas, in the day and 4 in the night of the human being. Similarly, 15 days and nights are a fortnight, and there are 2 fortnights, white and black, in a month. Text 11. The aggregate of 2 fortnights is 1 month, and that period is 1 complete day and night for the Pita planets. 2 of such months comprise 1 season, and 6 months comprise 1 complete movement of the sun from south to north. Text 12. 2 solar movements make 1 day and night for the demigods, and that combination of day and night is 1 complete calendar year for the human being. The human being has a duration of life of 100 years. Text 13. Influential stars, planets, luminaries, and atoms all over the universe are rotating in their respective orbits under the direction of the Supreme, represented by eternal Kala. Purport. In the Brahma Samhita it is stated that the sun is the eye of the Supreme, and it rotates in its particular orbit of time. Similarly, beginning from the sun down to the atom, all bodies are under the influence of the Kala Chakra, or the orbit of eternal time, and each of them has a scheduled orbital time of one Samvatsara. Text 14. There are 5 different names for the orbits of the sun, moon, stars, and luminaries in the firmament, and they each have their own Samvatsara. Purport. The subject matters of physics, chemistry, mathematics, astronomy, time, and space dealt with within the above verses of Srimad-Bhagavatam are certainly very interesting to students of the particular subject. But as far as we are concerned, we cannot explain them very thoroughly in terms of technical knowledge. The subject is summarized by the statement that above all the different branches of knowledge is the supreme control of Kala, the plenary representation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Nothing exists without Him, and therefore everything, however wonderful it may appear to our meager knowledge, is but the work of the magical wand of the Supreme Lord. As far as time is concerned, we beg to subjoin herewith a table of timings in terms of the modern clock. 1 Shruti, 13,500th of a second. 1 Veda, 8/135th second. 1 Leva, 8/45th of a second. 1 Nimesha, 8/15th of a second. 1 Chana, 8/5th of a second. 1 Kashta, 8 seconds. 1 Lagu, 2 minutes. 1 Danda, 30 minutes. 1 Prahara, 3 hours. 1 day, 12 hours. 1 night, 12 hours. 1 Paksha, 15 days. 2 Pakshas comprise 1 month, and 12 months comprise 1 calendar year, or 1 full orbit of the sun. A human being is expected to live up to 100 years. That is the way of the controlling measure of eternal time. And when that time is up, you leave your body. No matter who you are, no matter where you are, no matter what you're doing, no matter what you think. And that's the purpose of this knowledge. To bring us to the point of strength, spiritual strength, through this knowledge. And in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, slash the ignorance which has overcome you by the sword of knowledge. Arise and fight. That fighting means we're at war with illusory energy, to keep ourselves aloof from it and stop being the servant of it and the slave of it. The Brahma Samhita 552 affirms this control in this way. Yach chakshuresa savitas sakalagrahanam rajasamastra suramurtira shesha tejaha Jagyaya Ramiti Chamrita Kala Chakro Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, under whose control even the sun, which is considered to be the eye of the Lord, rotates within the fixed orbit of eternal time. The sun is the king of all planetary systems, and has unlimited potency in heat and light. Text 15. O Vidura, The sun enlivens all living entities with his unlimited heat and light. He diminishes the duration of life of all living entities in order to release them from the illusion of material attachment. And he enlarges the path of elevation to the heavenly kingdom. He thus moves in the firmament with great velocity, and therefore everyone should offer him respects once every 5 years with all ingredients of worship. Text 16. You want to be a human being? Hear ye, hear ye. All human beings are being called. You want to understand what's going on here? Here it is, in black and white. Text 16. Vidura said, I now understand the life durations of the residents of the Pitta planets and heavenly planets, as well as that of the human beings. Now kindly inform me of the durations of life of those greatly learned living entities who are beyond the range of a kalpa. Purport. The partial dissolution of the universe that takes place at the end of Brahma's day does not affect all the planetary systems. The planets of highly learned living entities, like the sages, Sanaka and Bhrigu, are not affected by the dissolutions of the millenniums. All the planets are of different types, and each is controlled by a different Kala Chakra, or schedule of eternal time. The time of the Earth planet is not applicable to other more elevated planets. Therefore, Vidura herein inquires about the duration of life on other planets. Text 17. O spiritually powerful one, you can understand the movement of eternal time, which is the controlling form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Time is the controlling form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because you are a self-realized person, you can see everything by the power of mystic vision. Purport. Those who have reached the highest perfectional stage of mystic power and can see everything in the past, present, and future are called Trikalagya's. Similarly, the devotees of the Lord can see everything clearly that is in the revealed scriptures. The devotees of Lord Sri Krishna can very easily understand the science of Krishna, as well as the situation of the material and spiritual creations without difficulty. The devotees do not have to endeavor for any yoga siddhi or perfection in mystic powers. They are competent to understand everything by the grace of the Lord, who is sitting in everyone's heart. Okay, I'm going to stop here. The reason is it's a little early. We're about 10 minutes short of an hour. But, it's Ekadasi today for all of those out there in cyberspace. Maybe some of you, for some of you, it may have been Ekadasi today. But I chant a lot of rounds on Ekadasi, and I got up real early, and I chanted them all before 11 o'clock. Yeah. And then I had a couple of very intense, 3 intense sessions with Vaisheshika Prabhu doing various brainstorming sessions, one of which Dr. Matt was privy to. And so it's time to wind down now. I'm starting to fade. All of us have to get enough sleep. It's different for each person, what we need. But Krishna says, Yukta hara viharasya, Yukta chaitasya karmasu, Yukta swabhavodasya. Just now I can't remember the last line. Yoga Brahma. Anyway.
Dukkha is the last word.
Yeah, Yoga Brahma Dukkha. Something like that. Anyway, we all have an amount of time that we should sleep. If we sleep too much, or if we sleep too little. If we eat too much, or if we eat too little. If we work too much, or if we don't work enough. And if we have recreation too much or not enough, we can't perform yoga. We can't be balanced. So I'm going to take an opportunity tonight to balance myself and stop. It's 7:30. So we'll take reflections. Anybody out there in cyberspace or anybody in the room? We have 4 stalwart brahmacharis here in the room, ready to enlighten us. Yes. Dr. Matt's going to start it off. Here you go.
Reflection and a question. I mean the portion about time. There's probably like 100 questions in there on each report could probably be an entire reading in and of itself. Sure. But I like how Prabhupada in the 14th verse basically sums it up for everyone and was like, and says, we don't have to be too concerned with this technical knowledge. And then he gives us the table there and then moves on from it. So it was getting to where I had a lot of questions, but I love that purport because he kind of just makes you feel like you don't have to spend a lot of time trying to figure out each thing, how these things break down.
Yeah, actually, the essence of it. Well, go ahead.
And then my question has nothing to do with this section, but I've just noticed even in previous readings all these mentions of different animals, but never anything about dinosaurs. It's kind of maybe a silly question, but I'm just never.
Four-legged. They may be four-legged or two-legged. It's not that just because the word dinosaur doesn't appear that they're not a category of living beings. Prabhupada doesn't discount, that there were dinosaurs on the earth. And he says that they're sometimes here and sometimes not. And if they're not here, they're somewhere in the universe, or sometimes they become extinct, especially in the Kali Yuga. So it's not, but the point you were made, I think, is the essence, is the best point, and that is that you can't calculate these things. Mm-hmm. If you spend your time trying to calculate them, you'll just become overwhelmed with a whole bunch of calculations and theories, and which is what material modern science is, trying to figure out all these things by the power of our, limited, very limited strength of intelligence and mind and senses. Mm-hmm. It's not possible. And because we're envious and we've lost faith in Kali Yuga, in Shastra, Vijnana, as we said last night, it's actually realized knowledge. The persons who are giving this knowledge are there at the beginning of the creation, namely Lord Brahma. And that knowledge has been passed down in unbroken lines of authority, spiritual authority, or even material authority. And therefore, we can get enough knowledge. We can't get all knowledge. We're infinitesimal living beings. Compare ourselves to the universe. How small are we compared to the whole universe? The number of atoms in the universe, the number of atoms that are making up the body. It's inconceivable. We can't even understand the number of atoms in the body. What to speak of, in the universe? What to speak of in a spoon full of something? So it's meant to give us a sense of inconceivability of the Lord. Inconceivable, by the way, I heard Gopi Puranadana Prabhu give a very nice definition of this. It doesn't mean that you can't understand anything about the absolute truth. That's not what inconceivable means. It means that you can't understand everything, and ultimately, no one can. In other words, no one can know a lot more than another person, but no one can know everything about the absolute truth. Therefore, it is inconceivable. But within that constraint, we can know according to our capacity enough to be able to be motivated and become qualified to go back to the spiritual world and meet the absolute truth face to face and engage in its transcendental loving service. That's the goal of life. So all these other types of things to try to figure out, how the atom works and how time works in this material cosmic manifestation is a waste of time, actually. If we just hear, we get enough. There's this verse we were talking about today. Evam yomam evam asamudo janati purushottamam sasarva vit vijatimam sarva bhavane bharata. When one comes to the point of accepting that Krishna is the Supreme Personality, Godhead, asamudo, without doubt, without doubting, when one's sure of it, then sasarvabit vajantivam sarva bhavani bharata, he becomes the knower of everything. Because he can hear the Bhagavatam with full faith and get the knowledge just by hearing. Therefore it's called Shruti. Assimilation of knowledge by hearing. And all you have to do is give up your suffering. Prabhupada used to laugh at us. He would say, all I'm asking you to do is give up your suffering. So it's in the Bhagavatam. There's nothing in the Bhagavatam that's not true, and there's nothing in the Bhagavatam that is irrelevant. It's all relevant, even though it may not be, so important. It's relevant to the point where we can actually understand our situation in relationship to the absolute truth. Just how tiny we are, just how little we know. And the more you read the Bhagavatam, each time you realize more and more how little you know. The more you know, the less you know. It's inconceivable. But it's conceivable to one who has full faith and one who is hearing submissively. That is the way of receiving transcendental knowledge. Submissive oral reception. That's it. And if we hear these things in that light, we will be given the intelligence from within by Krishna himself to be able to see how it connects, to see how it's relevant. So we won't, as Sanatana Goswami says in this prayer we read every day before we read the Bhagavatam, from every syllable flows a flood of prema. That is inconceivable to us, how that's possible. But you put it all together and understand it in context of the whole body of knowledge, then we can understand something, enough to be able to want to go back to God, to be able to want to meet the person who's doing all this. That's the beginning of love. That's the beginning of love, because when you realize that it cannot be going on in the way that it is without some intelligence behind it, and then you want to know who that person is, and then you appreciate, and then you be obedient, and then through that you can get to love. Without obedience, there's no question of love. If someone asks you that you actually love to do something, will you say no? No way. So this connects directly to the purport we read last night, which was so profound, which was talking about how the knowledge eventually must come to love, or else it's useless. You can't really love anyone substantially unless you know a lot about them. Intimate relationships are based on intimate knowledge.
And Krishna gives us the sense of knowledge so that we can love him, even though he's so inconceivably big.
Yeah, we can love him, and we can also eventually we can enter into the personal human-like activities of Krishna without thinking that he's an ordinary human. If we don't get this, if we don't assimilate this, when we hear about his human activities, we'll think he's like us. And then we'll think, oh, he has a lot of girlfriends. Well, hey, what about me? I can do that too. And in an indirect way, that means we're thinking we're like God. Okay, that's it. I just ran out of gas. Hare Krishna, everyone. Thank you so much. All glories to Srimad-Bhagavatam. Glories to Maitreya Muni. Glories to the assembled devotees. Do we have questions?
It looks like we've got one here.
Well, before we stop, then we'll take one reflection or question from the cyberspace.
This is from Gopichandra Devidasi. She says, Hare Krishna, if there's time still for questions, I would like to inquire about the forefathers. In one of the verses it was said that they were created along with the demigods. I would like to ask who they are and what their service is in the universe. Thank you.
There's a nice verse in the Bhagavad Gita, Gopichandra Devidasi. The Bhagavad Gita actually contains all of this knowledge, but it's compacted into sutric type codes. In the beginning of the 10th chapter, there is a verse which says, Maharshiya Saptapurve Chatvaro Manavastata Mad Bhava Manasa Jata Yesham Loka Ima Prajaha. Translation: the 7 great sages, and before them the 4 other great sages, and the Manus, progenitors of mankind, come from me, born from my mind. And all the living entities populating the various planets descend from them. So this is the meaning of forefathers. If you have your father, he has a father, he has a father, he has a father, you keep tracing it back, you'll come to the original forefathers. And they are created at the beginning of the universe because since time immemorial there have been creations and annihilations and creations and dissolutions. And the souls who were in the previous creation, they all were positioned at the time of dissolution. And at the time of creation, they all come out of the body of Mahavishnu and then enter into that through Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, through the stem of the lotus coming from his navel, in other words, from his body, which is an expansion of Mahavishnu, all the ingredients, including all of the souls that were injected into the material energy, they come out and they form the lotus flower, the lotus seat of Brahma. And he takes all of those from his penance and his knowledge that is gained through that penance, through Krishna in the heart, giving him this knowledge. He understands where everything is supposed to be and where all the souls are supposed to be. And he places them in the right place in the beginning of the universe. Those are the original forefathers, the ones that come from his mind. And there's an elaborate system of generation, which will be described, as the Bhagavatam develops, as the process of creation develops. which will give details. So some of those forefathers are there from the beginning of the creation, and they stay there from the beginning of the creation. Therefore, it can talk about forefathers. It doesn't just mean your grandfather, just because he's a forefather of you. This is talking about the forefathers of all living beings. And that's all I have for tonight. We'll discuss it later on in future sessions. It's all there in the Bhagavatam, but we have to hear with submissive oral reception. And we can't hear one little part of it and understand everything. You have to hear the whole body of knowledge, and then you have to completely hear it again. Then you have to hear it again, and then you have to hear it again, and then it'll begin to make sense. The picture will get clearer. All the parts will be able to fit together, and then our intelligence will be satisfied. Our spiritual intelligence will be satisfied. Then we'll stop being restless, and we can perform loving devotional service, unalloyed devotional service. And when Krishna becomes pleased with that, he'll give us everything. All knowledge will be revealed from within our hearts. And that's what happened to Brahma. Tene Brahma, Rida, Ya Adi Kaviye. Adi Kaviye means the original sage, the original rishi, as we just read in the Bhagavatam. When Vishnu was talking to Brahma, you are the original rishi. You are the original forefather. First created being. And his mind-born sons are the first forefathers. Okay? All right, thank you very much, Gopi Chandra. She's putting thumbs up. I'm glad that there's something that came. And again, here we go. Srimad-Bhagavatam ki Jai. Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda ki Jai. Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol. Thank you very much.